This webinar is all about WordPress. So you may have an existing website, maybe something you're just starting and you're kind of wondering, okay, great, but how do I connect and use that with StoryChief? You might have some kind of questions, how that works. Do I have to worry about my theme or anything like that? Hopefully by the end of this demo, you have kind of a clearer understanding of how to get started and how to start publishing to your WordPress site. So if you do not have an account yet, what I've shared on my screen here might not be that familiar to you, but here is our dashboard. It's where you can see the overall stats of your account. You can also create a new story. You can view all of your current stories that are still being written, have been published. You can view reports. Lots of really fantastic options to kind of help you assess performance and your next steps. All right, but as mentioned, this is about WordPress. I think what we should do first is connect to a brand new WordPress site. Now, last night, I was like, okay, I got this webinar tomorrow. I need to make this website for then a brand new one, a clean slate, because we have these demo sites, but they're always full of all this stuff. So I spent last night setting up a new WordPress site. So let's go over to there. So as you can see, here is my brand new WordPress site. I'm logged in, but you can see there's nothing in there. There's no stories. It's only with the basic plugins that you get, which is like 2, I think. So it's very bare bones. But we need to add it to StoryChief. So how do we do that? First off, we need to head over to our channels page. So you can get to there via the drop down here and then click on channels. And if you aren't that familiar with StoryChief, this also might be a bit new to you, but via your channels page, you can see every single connected channel and also every single possible channel that you can use. So you have, like WordPress, of course, you have like Drupal, Webflow, Joomla, Medium, your social channels, referral marketing, email marketing, all of that kind of stuff. But let's focus today on WordPress. So we just click on WordPress here, and you can see we already have one set up, but I want to add that brand new site that I created yesterday. So we do that by clicking on Add New Destination. And it's the same process as every other channel that you set up. So you click on Add New Destination, and then you'll be given the steps needed to complete it. Now, the vast majority of channels are just a simple click on the button, it authenticates, it connects to that application, you say yes, you go back to StoryChief, it's done. But WordPress, there are a few more steps. So we can see them here. There's 3 steps in total. We need to install the plugin, we need to save our encryption key, and we need to enter the URL of our WordPress site. Okay, so let's first tackle the first step. So install the StoryChief plugin. So we click on this link, we are then sent to WordPress. So not your WordPress site, but the plugin directory page from WordPress. So there are a couple here. What are all of these here? So the first one is the plugin we need to create our connection. And if you want to publish from StoryChief, that's the only one you need. If, however, you use ACF for custom fields or Polylang to have your stories published in multiple languages, or WPML also for multiple languages, if you use one of those plugins in WordPress, you will also need to install one of these. But if you do not, this plugin here is the only one you need to publish. So you can either click on this and click on download, and then it will download to your computer. Alternatively, what I find a bit easier is if you just go to your WordPress site, you go to your dashboard. So after you've logged into the admin page, if you then go to plugins and then to add new, here you will be able to just search for it. So we want to search for StoryChief. Let's do that. And we will see, again, all of these 4 plugins. And then we can just click on install now. And in a few moments, there we have it. It's now installed, and then we just need to click on activate. And then the plugin is enabled in our WordPress site. So I think a lot of people think, oh, I need to install a plugin. It's going to be complicated, lots of steps. If you just search for it in your own WordPress site, click on install, click on activate, then you should be good to go. So now that's done, we have fulfilled the first step. So let's now head on back to StoryChief. So our second step is our encryption key. Sounds very technical, but don't worry. We will see that our key is here below. So we see our key is right here. All we have to do is just copy that. Now what this key does is kind of our way to know that you have access to publish to that site. That way, yeah, you don't have to worry about other users being able to publish on your website. With this key, you know, it's unique to you, only you can use it. So we copy that, we go back to our WordPress site, and then so we're still on our plugins page, we click on settings, and then now we are in our StoryChief plugin settings, and then we just paste in our key. There we go. So that's already our second step completed. Now there's one final step. So head on back to StoryChief again. Now we need to fill in the URL of our WordPress installation. So what do we need there? So this is the name of my website, this bit here. Of course, it will be individual to your own private website, but we copy that part and we paste it in there. To make it easier, what you can do is you can just copy this. It's probably easier actually. I probably showed a very bad example there. Just copy this bit here, paste it in to StoryChief, and then 1, 2, and 3, we're done. Now we just need to click on Save Settings, but first let's save it in WordPress. So we've added our key, we're now good to go. Click on Save. We've now saved our key. Now we can save in StoryChief. And there we have it. Now our WordPress site is set up in StoryChief. Congrats, hallelujah, it's done. So I think now you can see how it's not such a complicated process. You just follow this 1, 2, 3 step here, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, glad you found that easy, Brian. It's always nice to hear that it was clear. I can be sometimes a bit rambly in my thoughts, so I'm glad you were able to follow. If we just head back to WordPress a sec, you probably saw some more options here. So we have testing mode, creating unknown authors. Let me just explain what all of these are. So imagine we've just set up a WordPress site, but this is already a site that we're using, and we just want to give StoryChief a try. If we enable test mode, we can send our story to that WordPress site without actually publishing. So what it will do is it will send a published article from StoryChief as a draft in your WordPress site. That way, if you aren't quite sure of how the article will look in your own website, you can enable this, publish it as a draft, and then you can log into your WordPress site just to kind of check out how it looks. So again, if you aren't sure, try out testing mode first. There should not be any issues in regards to styling, but I know some customers, if they have already a particularly well-established website, they do first want to just give it a once over first. So test mode is useful for that. Creating unknown authors and categories. How does that work? So in StoryChief, you are able to assign a story categories and also different authors. And what we will then do is, in the case of authors, we will link up the email address of that user in StoryChief and in WordPress, so that when you publish, it'll be linked to the correct author in WordPress. The same with categories. So when you choose a category for a story, it will choose the same category in WordPress. If they're spelled the same, it'll just use the same one. Again, if you are already using your website quite extensively and you have all these categories and authors, it's probably best to leave these enabled because we do that automatically. But if you do not have any authors or categories in WordPress, like for example, you're just getting started, and if you enable both of these options, then you can create new authors and also new categories from StoryChief. So it's kind of on a use case basis. If you aren't sure about these options, you can always let me know via our help, via our support pages, or you can just email me directly at sam@storychief.io, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. And same also with the tags. If there are tags in WordPress and in StoryChief, they'll be matched. The last option is be able to sideload your images. So when you publish from StoryChief, obviously you can add your images to your story. What we will do typically is all the images in your live story are hosted by us, so they're on our servers. The benefit of that is that all of our images are in the cloud, they are optimized, they load in fast. But if you want to have complete control of your images, if you enable this option when publishing from StoryChief, your WordPress site will first download these images, add them to your own WordPress media library, and then they'll be added to your story. So again, it's very based on your own use case and what that you prefer. So yeah, definitely check out these options. If you have any questions, as mentioned, just let me know. Okay, so I think we are now connected. We are ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head on back to StoryChief. And I think it would be quite useful if we create a story and then publish to this channel. That way you can see how we handle that and how it all kind of flows together. So let me go back on to our dashboard. So if you haven't created an account yet on StoryChief, then creating a story will also be new to you. I don't have an awful lot of time to get into every single nitty-gritty feature, but I'll try and cover the main kind of things needed to publish. So anytime you want to create a story, just click on Craft a Story, and you just jump straight into our editor. To save time, I'm just going to rip off a story that we've already published, which is what I usually do during these webinars. So I'm going to just steal content from this article here. So I'm going to copy in a title. I'm going to copy in some text. Here we are. And I have like a basic outline of a story. So what we can then do is we can add some images. So anytime we enter a new line, we are presented with this little bar to the right. And this is where we can start adding dynamic content, such as tweets, Instagram posts, images, videos, which are all kind of categorized here. So yeah, can add them from here. Let's add an image. We can either do that via our own computer by selecting one, or we can just search for one using Unsplash, which is a relatively new feature in StoryChief. So this one is about podcasts. So I'm going to search for one. And the great thing about this integration with Unsplash is that all of the images are entirely free to use. There's no obligation to leave any kind of copyright, or there's no royalty things to worry about. So I can just pick one here. It's added directly to your story. You can then change the size, you can add links, you can change the alt tag. As mentioned, it is free to use Unsplash. We do add this caption as a sort of courtesy to the photographer, but if you don't want that there, you are more than free to delete it, which I normally do myself. Okay, so we had some text, got some images. I do want to add one more thing to our story first. Maybe first some more text, and then I'm going to add some more content again from our blog. I think there is a video that I can use here in one of our previous posts. I think it was in this one. Yep. So I'm going to just get the link. So anytime you're sharing dynamic content, be it videos, tweets, anything like that, all you need to do is just copy the link to that piece of content. So in our case, it's a YouTube video. So we copy the YouTube URL, so the address, and then we head on back to StoryChief. We choose our video option, enter that address, hit enter, and that video is now visible in our story. Okay, so we have some content here, some images, some videos, has some text. There's a hell of a lot of things still that we could cover in our editor, but we are kind of strapped for time here, so I need to kind of glance over a few things. But towards the end, I'll also discuss other opportunities to learn more, so stay tuned until the end for that. So we're going to now move on to the summary tab. So in the summary tab, we have the option to leave an excerpt. So we can say all about podcasts. It's not a very good summary, but it will do. And as I explained earlier, adding authors and categories and tags to WordPress, this is where we select them. So from StoryChief, we have one already defined, but we can add additional ones. We can also add some tags. So I'm going to choose here marketing and content marketing. I can also change the author if we wish. So we have some users here we can use. And then once published to WordPress, this will be reflected in our story. Let me just close that here. Okay, so now I'm going to head over to audience. Now from the audience page, here's where we can start enabling our channels. So we've already connected to a WordPress channel, but in the audience tab, this is where we can start saying, okay, I want to publish to this website, I want to publish to this social media account. So even though we've added accounts to our StoryChief account, we can still define per story which of those channels we want to use, which is really helpful if you're working with, say, multiple users or companies and they all have their own individual websites. You know that when you create a story, when you're publishing it, you can define where it's sent out to. So in this case, I'm not interested in using the other WordPress sites. So I'm going to disable that. I'm going to set that WordPress site we connected to as my primary channel. What on earth is a primary channel? I get it a lot. What it allows you to do is it shows Google and other search engines what the primary or main destination, the original source of that content is. So sometimes, or a lot of the time on Google, if you are sharing the same content multiple times, like identically, it'll be flagged as duplicate content. By setting the primary channel, it shows Google that, hey, this is my main source. You should use this for links, etc. And this primary channel is also then used for your social channels, so that when we share to Twitter and other channels, once they click on that link, they'll be sent to that primary channel and not anything else. So you can kind of think of it as your WordPress site, as your company blog, etc., etc. Okay, so as mentioned, you can deactivate things if you wish. You can just pick whatever you want, and then we can start to publish our story. So I can hit on publish, and then we'll get a nice summary of everything that's going to be sent out to. It's being also sent out to my own personal Twitter account, so I need to remember to delete that later on. But for now, let's confirm, let's send it out. And here we see everything is being queued up. Our WordPress site here is at the bottom. And you'll see one by one, everything is being published. So a few more to go. See your quick question here, Brian. So it will post all active accounts, and if selected, it will send a test post to each platform. No, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. So what will happen is with we're talking about enabling the test mode in WordPress? No, so as mentioned, so if we're back in the plugin, try and find my cursor here quick, there it is. So this test mode here is disabled by default. So by default, when you publish from StoryChief, it'll be published directly on your WordPress site and it'll be live for everybody to see. So the same on all other, same on all other channels. So anything that you share and publish from StoryChief will be published directly. It will not be saved as a test. Okay. So now we've published our story, I can actually show this to you. So what you do is we see that it's published. And if we see this big green button at the bottom, it will take us now directly to that story. So we click on that and we can see that we are now on that brand new WordPress site that we set up. And our story is now live, it's ready to go. And if you guys were now to click on this in the chat, you will also see it. It's there, it's ready. And then you can scroll down, you can read the story, you can check out the images, you can watch the video. And if you were to add, say, tweets or anything, people can interact via there directly. Yeah, it's just sent out, it's published, it's ready to go. I did mention earlier how it works with different themes. So when you're creating stories in StoryChief, you don't need to worry about adding colors, worrying about layout too much, because what we do in StoryChief is we only send out your story. So we only send out your images, your other content, your text, your headers, your lead capture forms. All of the styling, all the CSS, all the technical stuff is handled by your respective platform. So if I were to go into WordPress again and to change my theme, let me see here, appearance, themes. So let's pick a different theme here. Okay, so let's now head back. See, again, now that it's now the same story, it's now a completely different theme, but because we only send over the text and the content, regardless of theme or anything else, it'll be shown correctly. And one of the main reasons why we do that is because we allow multi-channel publishing, we need to make sure that your content looks the way it should on every single channel. So we try and keep it very, very simple, very, very easy to use. So you don't need to worry about all the technical stuff in the background. You just have to create your content and publish it. Okay, so I hope that kind of gave you a sort of a short overview of how WordPress works in StoryChief. It is one of the more, I guess, one of the more technical things to set up in StoryChief. So I think a lot of people do kind of get worried when they see those steps about API keys, etc. But I think after this webinar, you should have a kind of a grasp of how to do it. And as mentioned, if you do have any issues, you can always reach out to me via the, let me just show you quick. You head on back to StoryChief. So you can reach out to me either via, when it loads, almost there, load. So either via our help menu here. So if you click on help, you'll see some videos. You'll also see our help center. So you can search, for example, in this case, WordPress. It will then take you to our WordPress help articles. So if there are any errors that you come across, one of these articles will will hopefully solve that for you. If you need any further help, you can always click on this Ask Assistant button. It'll be then sent to a form where you can fill in your question. If you want a more kind of direct answer, you are more than free to contact me via email, sam@storychief.io. So sam@storychief.io, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you whenever I can. If you're US based, I may be sleeping when you contact me, so there might be a slight delay there. So yeah, so to round things off, so after you've published from StoryChief, it doesn't end just there. You can then start to track stats from that story. You can then click on a report to see how well it performed, not only on WordPress, but every other channel. So say also on MailChimp, or on Twitter, on Facebook, etc., etc. So that way you can kind of analyze what may need more focus, what performed well, what didn't do so well. Always very useful to see. And we have a lot of other features built in, but I think I don't have enough time to show you all of them. What I do recommend doing is, if you are still interested in learning more, you can always sign up for new webinars. So every Tuesday, I fumble my way through half an hour trying to explain something. Our next one is about integrations. So how you add, so maybe a slight retread from today, but how do you add like videos, tweets, how more advanced integrations work, like our calendar integration, how lead captures work, all that kind of stuff. So if that interests you, sign up for that. And every week we have a different themed webinar. If you want to get a more in-depth overview of creating and publishing a story, we have this Introduction to StoryChief webinar that's every week, also on Tuesday. So that might also be worth checking out if you're still kind of new. Let me just paste the link in there. So yeah, feel free to sign up if you want. What I should probably first do is show you what our pricing plans entail. So you can create one story per month and then publish it to WordPress. That is included in our free plan. But if you want to publish 2 stories and more, you will need to upgrade to at least the Essential plan. And with the Essential plan, you gain more access to more channels. You are able to use Google My Business, Slack. You can use our newsletter integrations. You can use referral marketing to automatically share your published story via email to colleagues, to friends, and then they can share automatically via handy buttons to their own social networks. Really useful. If you were interested in the professional plan, you get all of the essential features and a lot more. You get more in-depth stats on the referral marketing. So you have to see who opened and who clicked on those buttons. You have access to the content calendar to have a global overview of everything in your account. You have advanced collaboration flows. You're able to use UTM tags per channel, version histories, content approvals. There's lots of great stuff in there. And I think one of the main things to remember is that we do offer a 14-day trial. So if you are interested in either of these plans, you can always sign up. 14 days, no obligation. And if it isn't right for you, that's fine. You can always downgrade if you wish. But if there is anything while during that trial period, you can always get in contact with me, let me know, and I will do my best to help you out. Okay, and I can offer you one small additional thing here. We have a discount code for lovely people who join me during one of my webinars. Let me just paste that into the chat. So it's webinar-19, and that will give you 15% off your first payment. So if you're upgrading from free to essential or professional, 15% off. So if you're paying monthly, it'll be 15% off your first month. Perhaps more interesting is if it's yearly, it's 15% off that entire year. So that's definitely perhaps more exciting to use. So, but yeah, that code will not expire soon. So you have more than enough time to first give out our trial, and then you can decide if you want to make that leap and use that code and upgrade. Okay, so I think I have jabbered on long enough. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been great to be able to speak to you all. Thank you, Brian. That's very nice to hear. I hope to see you all again very soon in an upcoming webinar. If not, you'll be seeing plenty of mails via myself, showing you new features, highlighting new things, and all that usual kind of stuff. So until then, thanks again, and see you all again very soon. Bye.